Welcome to the Infinite Star Connections with your host. I'm Vivian Chauvette and my friend Jeff Demers. Jeff is the CEO and the owner also of the Infinite Voice Project. I'm the owner of the Infinite Healing from the Stars, and we're both Galactic Ambassador. We both represent, respectively, the Ponti and the Arcturian Collective. Our episode is always dedicated to give a voice to the star nations and beyond. Today, we are particularly excited to welcome a most distinguished guest. Michael Jaco has agreed to come and spend this time with us in this beautiful high consciousness discussion. Even though Michael needs no introduction, allow me to properly introduce him today. Michael is a combat veteran, a Navy SEAL with 24 years of experience with several SEAL teams, including SEAL Team 6. Michael is also a master trainer specialist who designed many courses, including the SEAL Team First Hand-to-Hand Finding course. His background includes CIA security officer with 11 years in combat zone around the globe. Today, Michael has a range of online courses on developing intuition. In his 35 years career, Michael's greatest achievement was developing, utilizing, and listening to his intuition. He shared his amazing life experience with so many people across the globe and share how everyone can tap into their abilities to listen to their intuition. That includes also a variety of courses that we will share today, including unleashing intuition secrets, intuition physique, remote viewing, remote influencing, remote healing, and past life discovery. Again, Michael needs no introduction, but we are thrilled to welcome you on the show. Michael, thank you so much for taking the time out of a busy schedule and spend this time with us today.
Thanks for having me, Vivian and Jeff. It's really amazing to come on and share with you in this Lionsgate moment. So it's a very, very powerful. We were just talking about this before the show. The power I feel is intense but very, very beautiful, intense energy right now.
Oh, absolutely. Not only we're especially the weekend right now, August 8, 2021, we have the new moon, which is complete reset, renewal energies coming together. The Lionsgate, the Syrian portal, we can feel that. It's very a powerful time. So, Michael, let's dive into that energy right now, especially in regards to consciousness. How does it affect you, all this energy coming to the planet at this moment?
Yes, so it's up and down sometimes. Some days when the sun really kicks some energy at us and it ups the Schumann resonance, I get really dizzy, nauseous, and so forth. But I know these energies are coming in, and they're coming in a little bit at a time like that, so it doesn't overwhelm our bodies. So I know a lot of people are going through the Ascension energies, and they're affecting them similarly. So I like them. But on the other hand, it's like it's kind of, they can be a little overwhelming sometimes. But you just learn how to deal with them, roll with the punches, so to speak, and then just move forward. And on the other side of that, I feel very invigorated. Like right now, the energies that are coming in today are very smooth, very clean. I love this type of energy. I don't like to get whacked, but sometimes you do, and you accept it for what it is, because it's if we got whacked all at once, our bodies probably wouldn't be able to handle it. So we're getting a little bit at a time. For some of us that are super sensitive, it's a little bit overwhelmed. But I think as we go forward, it's something we have to go through to reach these ascension energies that we know that's going to take us to these levels of consciousness that we want.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at, many people feel it right now, especially with the Lionsgate power, as we go through, I feel like renewal energies.
Yes.
And also like we're cleansing. It feels like very fresh, like a refresh, like a reset. Is that also how you feel? Like there's kind of that energy where we are finally peeling off all layers, so to speak?
Yeah, and I think for some of us like me, I'm a little hard in some areas, so it's a little harder for me to cleanse some of these energies off and upgrade my energies. I've been through, like you talked about, combat and stuff like that. It makes it a little bit hard. So I've tried to soften myself as much as possible, connect with that divine feminine side, and it's helped me a lot. It helped me to understand all of the things that I was starting to uncover and really go deeper into them, like the remote viewing and the past lives and stuff like that. If I hadn't connected with my divine feminine like I did, none of that would have come through. I would have been stalemated and locked out. So as I matured and started to understand these energies more and more over time, then it was easier for me to accept them. A little difficult at first because us males are kind of trained to be a certain way. Big boys don't cry, and you got to be hard and tough it out and stuff like that. And I can do all that very, very, very well. But there's a point where you have to allow these things to come through and stop resisting and stop doubting and let them come in. And then it really takes your life to a different level. So I've been blessed with these energies.
You're making extremely good points here. And this is one of the things I've been feeling intuitively for you. It feels like you came into a very specific soul design, really deep into experiencing an aspect of the divine masculine by your amazing background on 24 years of service in a combat zone. And you have really dived deep into the trenches of that divine masculine energy, more like the dense part of it. But for you to discover the divine feminine and balance yourself, I feel that you come as a paradigm shifter, that your soul understood your path, that by going deep into the core of what it felt like, what it is like in very specific training mode, career zones around the globe are really dense. You come back from this and now you turn around, you go into conscious awakening, inviting the divine feminine in you. And now today you're teaching others. I think it's extraordinary, and I can see that for you being a very powerful paradigm shifter, and you play a very specific role, especially right now, in healing the polarities on the planet. Does that resonate with you, Michael?
Oh, very good. I mean, that's it to a T. Very, very beautifully put. And that's one of the reasons why I love to come on shows with you, Vivian, because you understand it at a level that most people don't, and you can relate better than I can sometimes. So it's very good. Even though I experience these and I can articulate them extremely well after all the years and years that I had to teach people that I call them knuckle draggers, because I was a knuckle dragger, hard-headed people. That you only have a little piece of time where you can teach them something, because their focus is all over the place. And if you can't capture their consciousness and give them something that they really can work with very quickly, they're gone. You don't get that chance again. So that's why I learned how to really learn how to articulate information very quickly, very succinctly, and in a way that people can grasp it and then use it very quickly. So that's the beauty of this time that we're in right now. Now, I see in the chat where people are saying they have similar, guys as well, have similar experiences with the energy. The women, a little bit cleaner, but still, women are having some heavy energies coming in as well. So all of us are cleansing, like you're talking about, and releasing stuff, and then shifting into higher frequencies, which is a challenge. It's happening at a rate that normally, it would take years and years of, focus and, a little bit of time, and then you advance. It's happening, weeks and days at a time. So we're rapidly shifting upwards, and it's challenging. But being Navy SEAL, CIA, and being in combat zones for most of my life, and all the stuff that I've done, high speed stuff, I like a good challenge. So I'm super happy with all this stuff, even though it can be overwhelmed sometimes.
Well, I'm not surprised there that you will take on the challenge. With your background, you have become the master of tackling those challenges. I'm like, you are the perfect for the job, so to speak. But I wanna go back to that aspect, because I feel like you touched on such a very core topic right now, and I will move on from there. Through your background, I'm just curious to see what brought you to to that background to begin with? I'm sure you shared that before, but just for the purpose of our time together, briefly. And then what brought you to this background? And the second part of my question for you, Michael, is at one point did you start to feel that you need to reinvite the divine feminine and go back into what the Arcturian called bridging your higher mental faculties to your heart?
That's great. I'm glad you asked that question because at a very young age, 3, 4, 5, I was kind of sickly, underdeveloped to a certain extent. Very small little boy. Get picked on a lot, and eventually, I decided I'm going to get big, and so I started working out. And I think it was around 7 or 8 is when I started to run. And because I had asthma as a little kid. So I was like, I'm going to overcome this. So I started running because I'd heard other people do that. So I started running. Some people would do that and die, but I did it and I kept pushing it and kept pushing it. And then I would swim underwater for long distances to push my lungs and develop my lungs. So I just started like we're talking right now, a good challenge is something that, I started to take on very early. So I remember looking at books where, bodybuilding books where there were articles and advertisements of how you could, develop your body. This one guy had his girlfriend at the beach and he was a little skinny guy, and big guy came over and kicked sand on him, and his girlfriend left him for the big guy. I was like, that's not going to be me, and I'm not going to pick on people like that, but I'm going to be the big guy so no one ever kickstand on me. So I started working out with weights and so forth and developed my body. No longer was I the little guy. And so that, that's just the thing that I took on. I was really good in sports and so forth. Now, when I eventually went into the SEAL teams, I wanted to be a SEAL at 5 years old. And during that time frame, they didn't have SEALs. It was underwater demolition team stuff. I saw a movie, The Frogmen, as a 5-year-old. I'm like, that's what I want to do because I just love the water. And so as I got older, I kept focusing myself, developing my body. So I became a great swimmer, a lifeguard, all kind of crazy stuff, swam, in competitions, all that stuff. Played sports, soccer, football, lettered, so I was ready. So then when it was time to go into the SEAL teams, I crushed it, went through and went all the way, went to SEAL Team 6, which is the creme de la creme of the SEAL teams. And, just had an amazing, fantastic career, combat action, did really well in that. Everyone wants to be challenged. If you develop yourself for war, and then you're in a combat situation, you do well, then you're like, okay, all that training really paid off. Because really, when I was in combat situations, I thought they were easy compared to the training that I went through. So towards the end of all this, I started to see these things that some of the guys that I work with, they had these abilities, and everybody wanted to have that secret ability, that sixth sense ability, where you just know things. So we had a lot of guys that were Vietnam veterans that just had this super sensory ability. They've been in combat for, many years, and they just knew things. And I was like, I want to be like that. So, and to really understand that, I started to see these guys do that. I'm like, how are they doing that? They couldn't explain it. They just had these abilities. They knew things. They could hear things, even though a lot of them had super bad hearing. After firing and blowing stuff up and diving, all the crazy stuff we do, we all have hearing loss. I have hearing loss like crazy right now, but it's just something that you see people can develop. So I was like, I'm going to do that. And I went on a spiritual path. So I started going into spiritual realms. I went into Native American spirituality, sweat lodges, vision quests, where you're basically, go for 4 days in a very nice, secure environment where there's people out, taking care of you, but you're in a wilderness setting all by yourself. All you drink is water for 4 days. And you just focus on, getting answers to the things that have been, part of your life. So I got a lot of stuff out of that. Went to this one guy that taught Apache spirituality. And I started to learn how to remote view and set out my imagination and see things. And then I started using it in combat situations. And it grew from there. And then I had this incredible experience with Archangel Michael, where I floated out of my body. I'm like, oh, I'm having an out-of-body experience. So I always heard about these. I look down and I'm dead. A bomb, because we used to get mortared every night. And half the time you just kind of roll over. Oh, they're not close. Well, this particular time I saw that I was dead. So I'm like, oh, I'm not having an out of body experience. I'm dead. I'm like, oh, that's too bad, because I really feel like, my spirituality is helping me to, save people. I feel like I could help humanity. And then I looked up and saw Archangel Michael, and all this love just poured into every cell of my body. Then I was pushed back in time, back into my body, and I heard an explosion of a missile that was probably would have hit my, little hooch, where it did hit my little hooch that I was in. And I was like, wow. So that changed me. And then I started having these abilities. I could see things in the future. I could influence things with my consciousness, and all these things just started to come to me. And it was all because I wanted that spirituality, like I talked about. So everything that I've ever wanted throughout time, like as a little kid, I wanted 5 years old. I'm like, I'm going to be a Navy SEAL. And then as a teenager, I'm going to be a CIA guy. And then when I started going into spiritual stuff, I want to have these abilities. So boom, boom, boom. You don't know how these things are going to come through or how they're going to work out. You just keep focused on them. And then eventually, they come to you. And if you keep that pure, childlike, innocent, beautiful, loving mind that I've learned that really manifest stuff quick, that's where you start to manifest and do amazing things. So that's what I teach people. And everyone has these abilities that I do. It's really super easy to do this stuff. Once you learn how to unlearn all the stuff you've been, programmed into thinking that's the way this consciousness is supposed to be.
Do you think that you were activated by Archangel Michael?
Yes. So I feel I'm very confident. I'm from the angelic realm and have worked with Archangel Michael. I feel that I'm from planet Venus, that have had lifetimes as a Venusian, and very, very close association with them. I've had people that have really close associations with them that have confirmed that have said, yes, you're definitely, and you're still having connections with Venusian. So
that's actually weird, because there was a thread on Twitter just recently about Venusians. And there isn't much documentation out there to tap into the daily life of that, so.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think they're going to come in. They have been here for quite some time. Of course, a lot of this gets suppressed. But I think as we move forward, they really start to come out. Because just like everything, I mean, there's lots of stuff that, we're seeing on hindsight, maybe manipulation here or manipulation there. Quite a lot of it going on, actually. But on hindsight, we're looking back going, oh, yeah, they really got us on that one. But now we're smarter. And I think as it's the same thing with revealing, all these different races that we've interacted with over time, with your audience, Vivian, everyone's like on board with it. With my audience, pretty much all of them are on board with this information. But, there's a big swaths of, humanity out there that's still not quite on board with this stuff. But I think that changes very quickly as we continue to move forward in this higher consciousness realm that we're experiencing right now.
Do you think that moving through the photon belt's got something to do with that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, it's activating us, every time we go through that, we've been through that, throughout time.
Right.
And as we move through that, it upgrades us and gives us more light. And I think that that's some of the stuff a lot of us are experiencing right now. And
I agree with that.
Yeah. And it's absolutely, because a lot of people are very scared, what's happening to them right now. But when they hear people like us, like, oh yeah, those energies that came in, those ascension energies were pretty intense. And they're like, oh, that's what I was feeling. Oh, yeah. So we're starting to connect with it more and more. We're starting to talk, and people are like, yeah, I'm starting to see that. And on the other side of it, just like when I went through, Hell Week, on the other side of that, oh, I made it through that. It's like because not a lot of people make it through that, they give up. But on the other side of that, you just feel so invigorated and so on top of the world, and it just, takes you to a different level. So that's what we're all going through, a little bit of that right now, little pieces at the time, not a full Hell Week all at once, but a little piece of that, with the things that are happening in the world. and then also with these energies that are coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of new energy coming in, and you touch upon also many points here, especially the reconnections with our star brothers and sisters, like the Venusian, the Vegans, the Syrians, the Arcturians, obviously, Andromedan, and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really about consciousness, connecting to consciousness. It's a heart-to-heart connection, and we're seeing a lot of different mixed agenda being pushed out to create distraction and what we call creating mental grids, distractions with all kind of information that the goal is just to put everybody out of their center and away from their internal power and then outside. So in regards to reconnecting with our star families and heritage, it's really about that conscious energy and that heart connection. And really, I feel like there's so many light workers are being activated on the planet, which also is deflecting any form of false narrative around, ET invasions or negative. There's the polarity field. We know there's other different spectrum of consciousness and non-consciousness, if we put it this way. But at the same time, it's important to really be centered on your light and invite, your family, your lineage into your space to say, okay, this is a new era. And that's all day, all morning before we're preparing for our incredible time together. I've been hearing a song like "You Haven't Seen Anything Yet." Like
Nice.
the light has something more. The light has more for all of us on the planet. You haven't seen anything yet from the light. And I felt that was very synchronized, very synchronized, and I could hear that song playing, and I call it my internal jukebox around, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah. I totally agree with that. Just when I think, oh, I can't. Well, I will. In some aspects, it gets worse, but then it motivates us to unlock some things that normally we wouldn't do. Just kind of like talk about. I'll just keep referring to it because it feels like that sometimes, that Hell Week thing, where it sounds like really horrible, but it basically unlocked aspects in all of us that we had the potential for, and it wouldn't have been unlocked otherwise. So it's pretty much what everyone's going through. So very challenging times, which is unlocking all these potentials that people have. And it's, in one aspect, it's tough for me to see that, but I know that it's just like when I was a BUD/S instructor, I went back and actually did, I was push guys through Hell Week. And I saw what I thought were the guys that, oh, these guys are going to crush it. And I think a lot of people think that, oh yeah, Ascension, yeah, I'm already there. You haven't seen anything yet. So we'd have people come in with that kind of attitude, and they were the first to quit. And so you got to come in very humbly, because there's more to see. We're just beginning this process, and although that might sound overwhelming for some people, and unfortunately I think it is, on the other side of this, like I talked about, or you have this sense of accomplishment that's otherworldly, and you have abilities that are beyond the average person. When we go through Hell Week, we're basically pushing each other to 10 times what the human body can normally withstand, and it can do it. People have done it. I did it. Thousands and thousands of people have gone through that. We're all going through our own particular Hell Week, right now. So it's we're being pushed in the spiritual realm way beyond what we all thought was possible.
Do you recommend any type of food people could eat to help them develop, other than just meditation and the standard stuff? I mean, there's got to be something that we could eat to energize our bodies to accept the light.
Yeah, I always recommend, as organic as you can get. Everything that I eat has gotten to the point it's organic. Really, really good clean water, filtrated Berkey, have a Berkey filter, gets all the fluoride and everything out of the water, so that my pineal gland is nice and clean. I don't have, fluoride toothpaste. I don't get fluoride treatments at the dentist, because that's been shown to basically, as the cat goes by, yeah, he's right.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, my Syrian tigress is very active right now.
Oh, okay. Another Syrian here.
There it is.
Hey.
Yeah, thank you. She's quite a tigress.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, I have a Black Panther as my spirit animal. So yeah, it's as organic as you can get. If you're still a meat eater, I'm still a meat eater, kind of like weaning it out, a little bit at a time. I try to go cold turkey a while ago. It didn't really work well for my body. So now that I'm like slowly leaning out, and you don't have to, of course, I've been a meat eater for most of my life, but keep it low. I think I only eat one meal a day. So I basically fast for 16 hours, which gives my body plenty of time to rest and recover, from all the stuff that I put in it. And then I do high protein meals. Now, protein meals usually are from plant, if I can do it, a plant source of protein. I do blended drinks, and I put fresh fruit in it and stuff like that. So it keeps my energy high. I feel very, very light, especially during this Ascension time frame. Mm-hmm. If I get too heavy with stuff, I still like a good steak, every now and then. You got to do it. You got to get that, red meat in, I think. Maybe not for some, but, for others.
For the type of blood people,
someday I won't, but up until, that point, I'm still doing a little bit of that stuff. But mostly fish and eggs and stuff like that. So that's what really, or chicken. But I think that eventually I'm going to completely away from that. And it will happen. There's plenty of people that are doing it and are super healthy and super strong. Because I'm a bodybuilder, and for me, it doesn't quite work. But I'm leaning it to the point where, like I said, just one meal a day contains meat. So some days I don't do that. I have other sources that I take, and that fulfills that. So I'm getting to the point. That's at least once a week, sometimes several days out of a week. I don't have any meat, so it's eventually moving that spot. But when I do meat, it definitely changes my intuitive abilities. And so when I was doing no meat, I was super intuitive and pounding the intuition. So when I started doing the meat again, which my body, needed it. So I have to find that balance, between intuition, high intuitive abilities, higher intuitive abilities, and keeping my body, going the way I like to have it. So I'm finding those things. So as we move forward, they're coming up with better and better, protein sources. Because if you're whatever your weight, so I'm like a little over 200 pounds, so I have that much in grams of protein a day. As long as I get that, I fulfill that, then I'm good. If I drop below that because I work out pretty hard, I start to deteriorate in my physicality. So that's all I'm doing, just maintaining that. And I cut back on carbs. I don't do as many carbs. Sometimes I'm like almost no carbs, low fats, and that's how it keeps me super energized and very intuitive. Could be more intuitive, like we just talked about. When I take out the meat completely, that's when and if I need to take the meat out, I fast completely, just fast, and then I have like a really super strong intuition, period. Mm-hmm. So if I'm led to that, you need to like just go fasting, and I'm like, okay, what's coming? And I just fast and just wait for it, and then it comes through. It's like, whoa, I can see why I needed to fast for that one. So you start to learn how to listen, and I think over a period of time, you know what your body needs. Like the other day, I was hanging out, and you need potassium. Go eat 2 dates. I was like, okay. So I went and ate 2 dates, and I just know my body knows. I listen to my body. It tells me what it needs, what it wants, and I just do it. It's ideally, it took me a long time to get there, but I've been doing it since I was I think about 12 years old is when I really started getting into nutrition and how nutrition definitely affects you. And I started to see that in, when you're a teenager, you have all these hormones and stuff that are like all over the place. So I noticed that if I cleaned my diet, my hormone balance was, I was more centered, more focused, had better relationships with the girls. So it worked out really good. So I've never gone away from watching my diet ever since. So it's hugely important.
Yeah, and it makes a difference. And I think you're making us another good point is that as we are ascending in consciousness and holding higher vibratory state, our body as conduits of light is also becoming higher in capacity to hold those frequencies of light. So the diet will come hand to hand. So when you talk about weaning out of meat, that was 25 years ago for me. When my galactic group said, it says, okay, now you are about to embark on another aspect of your timeline, and part of your 3D diet is that no more meat. And that was the beginning point for me. And you're right about the intuition. But of course, in my case, being an organic hybrid, I have a higher threshold of capacity to already hold frequency. So there's some things that I don't need. And there's other things that I need and not from here. So they provide it for me. So it's a balance. You have to listen and be attuned to the language of your body. So that was a very beautiful point. So thank you, Michael, for that. We have a question for you in the audience.
Okay.
In regards to your Archangel Michael experience, what did Archangel Michael look like to you?
So to me, Archangel Michael looked feminine and masculine, as if there was no separation. And I feel that the Archangel angelic realm is like that. Because every time I've seen angels, and I've seen angels since I was a very, very small boy, they look like a mix between a man and a woman. Very strong, but yet very, very soft, very feminine. So that's the way Archangel Michael looked to me. A very, very beautiful face, but with a physique that's more masculine. I didn't notice breast or anything like that, but as far as like the just the overall impression that I get from the angelic realm is that they're a mix of the two. There's at some point I believe that we separate and have a masculine and a feminine side, and eventually we come back together. And that's the way the angelic realm is. So we separate. Part of our separate part is sometimes what we call our soul group or soul mate, or however you want to term it. But I feel like I combine with that person and have combined with that person in many lifetimes. So I can look back through time and see different lifetimes and see the mate that I have right now. We've been together for many lifetimes. So I feel that a lot of us do that. It's not necessary for development, but a lot of times we'll come in and help each other. And I've not always been with my soulmate over and over again. Sometimes where I'm with someone else, she's with someone else. It's no big deal. And sometimes we come in as men, and sometimes we come in as women to balance those aspects of ourselves. So there's lots of different things. You can have multiple lifetimes simultaneously. That's something I've had for many thousands of years. I've had multiple lives at once. Usually a life, if I'm like at this point in my life, I would probably have 2 or 3 other lifetimes that are coming in at different stages. I might have one that's more advanced from me, like maybe someone 80 years old, and then someone like 40 years old, and so forth. Maybe someone being newborn coming in, but it's all an aspect of piece of my soul. In the secret space program, I have an aspect over there that's a piece of my soul that was put in a clone, and because I voluntarily wanted to go into that program, so they took an aspect of myself, and it's been in that program. I have memories of that and everything. So lots of different stuff I believe is going on out there. That's it took me a long time to figure this stuff out, but as I start to see it, not only in myself but in other people, it becomes more obvious that there's so much more to us than just this physicality right now, and that's it. There's just so much more. It's just fantastic once you start to get you stop doubting these things. It took me a while to, like I said before, to overcome the doubting and the programming and so forth. But once I broke those away and saw the science and the spirituality, how they blended together and they created these different aspects and informed me in different ways, then there was no longer a point of doubt. And if I continue the doubt, it just cut back on what I was able to do, because the past lifetimes basically inform me and all the things that I've done in the past. Like I've had many lifetimes, as a warrior. So being naturally a warrior in a lot of different things, like you said, starting the Navy SEALs first hand-in-hand program, because I didn't know it at the time, but as I'm looking on it now, I've had many, many lifetimes, as a hand-to-hand guy, learning all kinds of different styles in Japan, being a samurai warrior and all kind of crazy stuff. So once you start to connect with all that stuff, it's like, oh, that's why that comes naturally for me, or that's why I'm having a problem in this area, because I've been angry in lots of lifetimes. I'm done with that. I'm done being angry. So let's move to the next level. And that's what you start to do. It's like, oh, that's dumb. I'm not going to do that anymore. So, oh, I can do that. I've done that in many lifetimes. I like to do that again. And then it comes through. Or I've done that in that. I think I took that far enough. I'm good. I don't need to do that anymore. So there's all these different aspects that we have that we can tap into that come through. And even in a soul group, you have a soul group, I think, that you're born into simultaneously through Creator Source. And all of those, your soul group, basically your soul family, you actually have connections with them. And whatever they're experiencing, kind of filters over and influences you and helps you to grow as well. So lots of different things. It's just unbelievable, all the information that comes through. And of course, the star family, coming from the star family, connecting with Sirius B, and then connecting with having lifetimes with the Venusians. So all these different things have informed me on levels that would have been completely unimaginable like 20 years ago. But as I really, open to this information, these energies, after I had my Archangel Michael experience, it really just blew open a door for me for a lot of this stuff.
Did he emit some sort of light? Can you remember? Was he glowing? Can you describe maybe what he looked like?
Absolutely, yeah. Excellent point. Thank you, Jeff. So when I felt the presence. So I'm looking down at my body. I'm like, I'm dead. Which I felt like I was really going to be able to help humanity. Because I was remote viewing and stopping guys from going out and being killed and stuff like that. So I felt this presence. And I looked up, and he looked like 12 feet tall, like very big, glowing white.
Right.
So glowing white. The wings were stretched out. Now, I've heard that their wings move so fast that you don't see them moving. So they're like on a different vibrational level, moving fast. So he looked like he was stationary to me. And now that I've gone into these realms and I actually work in these realms as angelic, I can see the wings. I see wings on people now. Once I got my wings. So not everyone that's from the angelic realm or has worked in the angelic realm. Angelic realm is kind of like the special forces guys or gals, or gals, whatever it is. And so you decide to go into that realm because it's of a service that's, super dedicated. We know the angelic realm is. And you train and you become, adept, and you go back and forth into that realm. And even though you're here, sometimes you're here on missions, as angelic, and eventually you awaken to those. So yeah, he was super white. So when he looked at me, when I met his eyes, this light basically came into my eyes. It's almost like a beam went into my eyes, and then every cell in my body just lit up with light and love at an indescribable level. I mean, sometimes when I go back and I connect with that level of love, just tears just start flowing down my face, uncontrollable. So it's an incredible level of love. And I started to use that love energy vibration to stop attacks. So I remember the first time, it wasn't long after that experience, where I got that I was in a hit zone where they were getting ready to kill us. And I was in a vehicle. And I got I was like, oh no, I didn't do the remote view, because normally I would do a remote view and hold my teams up if I saw something. I was just exhausted having worked for months and months and months. And I've been, working all day, little rest. We've been out the night before and a couple nights before that, doing missions and stuff. So I just kind of got in the car and I just went into zombie mode, just kind of kicked back, kind of semi-alert. And then I noticed we were going out the gate and I was like, oh no, I didn't do the remote view. And I started to do it. I'm like, oh no, we're in a hit zone right now. We're about to be a hit. And then I was like, I got this message to send out love as if every cell in your body is sending out, just like that moment where you got all that love from Archangel Michael. I was like, what? And it's like, do it now. Said, okay.
Dome that comes about, right?
Yeah. Yep. So I just sent it out like it was a wave. I could almost see the wave of energy of love vibration going out. And I got that they're about to hit you, and then it started to fade, and then it was gone. And then we got back to our compound. We heard of another group that came out right behind us, and they got hit by a missile, and all those guys got injured and blew their vehicle to pieces. So I was like, wow, that really happened. Because you have an experience like that, and it's like, that really happened. And then when that happened with those guys right after we went through, and in the same area that I felt that, then it was okay. And then over time, I started to develop the remote influencing to the point where, I could come in and stop terrorist action within a city by sending out that wave of love energy and just making a bubble around a town. So now I do a lot of that stuff to move weather, or I go in and I look at people that are causing problems. Like I would look at terrorists in the beginning there in Iraq when the attack started. So I was like, who's doing this? And I saw this one guy in Zarqawi. So I went after him like I was going to angrily, kick his butt, like a Navy SEAL would. And his demon came off of him, and poof, I was like, whoa, that's out of my league. So back to my body. And surprisingly, just a few days after that is when I was rising up out of my body. So they have abilities in the demonic realm to take you out. So on the physical level, if they need to, if you start to mess with them, if you don't know what you're doing on the etheric level. So I started, how do I do that? So when I learned how to send out the love energy and that physical reality and stop an attack, I was like, well, why don't I do that in the etheric realm? So that's what I started to do. I went to Zarqawi and started sending love to him. His demon didn't like that. His demon, they can't handle that energy. It's a vibrational energy that makes them weak, and they just can't stand it. That's why I tell everybody, stay in that love vibration right now. It's very, very powerful.
Stand in your energy.
Yeah, it made him weak. It made him vulnerable. And then some of my old buddies at SEAL Team 6 came in and got him. And I heard about that later. So I was like, wow, that's very powerful. So I started doing that with other terrorists, and eventually they went away. And one of the biggest ones you've heard of is Osama bin Laden. So I worked on Osama bin Laden for about a year, and it usually took me about a year working on somebody before they went down. And it was my old team, SEAL Team 6 Red Squadron, that actually came in and got him. So the synchronicities, when you start to do this kind of work, start to come in and inform you. It's like, you stop doubting. So that's like what we talked about before. These abilities start to come in for us, from whether they're coming from the angelic realm, whether they're coming from, Venusians or the Arcturians, or whoever they're coming from. They're here to help us and inform us and take us to these higher levels of consciousness. So we never experienced these things that we're having right now, these negativities that are happening. No more war. I mean, look at it right now. We're really not having a war right now, although it seems like we're in a war to a certain extent. We are, figuratively, but there's no one, dying like they do in a war. Although we have some people dying, but it's on a different level. So there is a level like we're talking about where we get shook awake, and that's what's happening right now. It's like we're kind of like just going through life, kind of like and then get shook awake. Oh, we're sending now. Oh, okay. Some people are going to be like that. They're going to be a little bit late for the ride, for the Ascension, but people like us we're fully on board, and I think at some point, we stop helping people. We just do it. we're at that point where, okay, you guys got enough information. You good? You good? All right. We're going to lead us into the next level, and we'll come back and help you guys once you get to our level again. So there is that going on, I think.
Well, you feel real fortunate, because they say that you're not supposed to make eye contact with any archangel, and if you do, then they're gonna amp you up, or they're gonna do something to you. So obviously, that actually did happen to you. So
I have heard that, and so I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah, that's why you're supposed to shy away, But when you actually make contact with your eyes, look the hell out, because you're getting fucking amped up, whether you want it or not.
Yeah, he amped me up pretty good, and I think the reason why is because I have worked with him in those angelic realms, so we had a connection. He was kind of like, "Okay, Mike,
it's
time to wake up." You signed up.
Turn.
You're ready now. Now that you're dead.
That's right. So
some of us, like I said, we're being shook awake, and hopefully we don't die, but a lot of people do die, and then they see the light, they see the angels, or they get the vision. Okay, this is what you're going to do when you go back. And there's a lot of people that have talked about it over time. And I used to love to read those. I was like, wow, that's amazing. You have all these abilities. I'd like to have that too. Be careful what you wish for.
Right.
But I'm glad I did. I'm glad I went through that experience. It was fantastic. I wouldn't trade it out for anything. At the time, it was pretty traumatic. It was like, whoa, and it took me a while to figure that out. I'm still processing it actually 20 years later. So it's quite beautiful. These experiences that we have in these realms.
And he'll be with you the rest of your life, so you're fine.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, and I can tell I was already very much entwined into your path, Michael, because the whole time you talk about the angelic realm, which I work with very closely. My husband, Peter, who you met and interviewed with his tensor pendant and copper pendant, is also from the same lineage of Michael, Archangel Michael.
I have a statue that's over here on my table. If I could, I'd turn the camera, but it'd be all over the place. But it has his pendant around Archangel Michael's neck. So I'll put it on me. And that's pretty cool.
Oh my God. He's listening right now. Now he's freaking out. This is awesome, Michael. From our hearts to your heart, thank you for that, because the two of you are really in that lineage. And when you were talking about your experience, the same thing with Peter, I see thousands of your warrior angel brothers and sisters, and I can see them in armor. So you come from a direct lineage, just like Peter is. And at the same time, looking at different type of warrior of light. You went like deep into the trenches, so to speak, really understanding, utilizing your gift, going through extreme experiences of that experience, and then reconnect with that part of you. And at the same time with the Venusian energy, where you knew that later on your timeline, that feminine energy would be connecting with you. So it's phenomenal what I see when you speak, because I can see your soul lineage. I can see your soul timeline, how everything has been unfolding for you. And now, yet today, you say, okay, you know what, Father, I have learned. I'm going to share that with the world. I'm going to help others. I'm going to motivate others to do the same. We have a question for you in the audience, if it's okay, Michael.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely.
Thank you. You talked about soul pieces earlier. So Ida is asking, is it possible to collect a piece of the soul which has been separated before?
Yeah, soul pieces will come to you as one soul has reached its basically what it came in to experience and do. Sometimes that soul energy can come to you. Like for instance, I was in the Civil War, American Civil War. I was Louis Armistead, and I was at the Battle of Gettysburg, and I'd always had this knowledge that I was there. And eventually, I discovered that lifetime. All the places where he was injured, I've had similar problems in my body in this life. So once I made that discovery that I was him in that lifetime, all those problems went away. So it's very, very, very profound. Like we were talking about, the problems that you have, sometimes you'll release them. I've heard of people that, had throat problems and they were going to die from it. And then they found out that they had been hung as a cattle rustler. And then the throat problem went away and they never had a problem with it again. So it was kind of like that with me, finding out that lifetime of Louis Armistead. That was the first lifetime that I discovered this in the historical realm. So then over time, I started, looking at, more lifetimes, and I discovered that you can have, like I talked about, parallel lives. So I was like, wow. So I wonder if I was having, another lifetime, during that time frame. And sure enough, I found another general that was on the Union side. And basically, as I looked into that lifetime, and I learned that he came into power shortly after Louis Armistead died. So the guy that basically went down through the South, and basically wrecked the South, that was me. And I was like, wow. And he came to power, shortly after Louis Armistead died. So a lot of people, think that, hey, if your soul is separated, you have lots of different lifetimes all over the place, that you're not as effective. Well, our energy, like we were just talking about, like Jeff brought up, the archangel energy, you have to be careful around the energy because they like light you up. That's the same thing would happen with our souls. It would be too much energy for one life, to have all that energy at once. Mm-hmm. So until you develop yourself, so now that I'm more developed, I can handle more light. So I'm assuming that, my soul energies, as someone has been, a couple of people have told me, your soul energy is increasing. So probably some of that could be from other lifetimes that are kind of streaming out, reaching their what they came in to do, and then other lifetimes coming in. So that can happen, and people can walk in, you could like decide, okay, I've had enough of this life, and another soul or another entity can come in and take over your existence. So there's lots of different things, we're going to look at you'll start to see over time. And, it's taken me a long time to understand this stuff, but it's good we're talking about this. So people that are new to this information, asking these questions like this, they can be informed, on levels that took me years and decades, right, to inform myself. So that's the beauty of the stuff that we're sharing right now.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. And the doubting, like we're talking about, is the thing that trips people up. Now, a curious, being, saying, oh, I don't know about that, I'll go research that. That's the way I was, that critical, you want to go in and do the research and stuff like that, critical thinking. Absolutely. That's the way I come to all this stuff. I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, okay. No, it's like, well, that sounds interesting. I'm gonna go check that out. And I look deeper into it. And if I feel something's right, I'm like, oh, that feels good. And by feeling it, by being intuitive with it also, like before I get real analytical with it. So I have to be very scientific process with this. And it would take me years and years and years to discover information. But once I started to learn more how to be intuitive with this information, like, well, what is it that I need to look at? And then I'd ask that higher self, and then I get directions. So that really helps inform me and keeps me going down the right paths and discovering things a lot faster. So a lot of people that are listening to this, some people won't resonate with it because it's just they're not there yet, or you don't have to be there. You might say, well, that doesn't sound good to me. It's not anything I want to explore. And that's the way I was for a long time. I believed as a little boy when I saw Patton, I was like, wow.
Great movie.
Yeah, great movie, right? And he talked about his past lifetime, being at all these different wars. And I've done research on him, and he's had lots of lifetimes. He was there in the Civil War as well. So I was like, wow, I believe in that stuff. But it wasn't until in my early 40s I was like, okay, I'm ready. I have a little bit of time here. I'm not doing the Navy SEAL stuff so much anymore. I'm ready to transition out of the Navy and start to look at my spiritual side. So then I went to the Edgar Cayce Institute, started doing volunteer work, and then did my first soul reading and past life regression, all that kind of stuff. So then it really started opening those doors for me.
That's fantastic. And you're right about, especially right now, using intuitive kind of thinking. You talk about critical thinking combined with higher discernment so that you really filter out, channel through your intuition, and that you learn it so well, not only from life experience, but also when the Edgar Casey classes, the training there, and how you apply it today. And that's what we call it, intuitive thinking, so that there's also allowing filtering out information that is just put out there to distract people or move them away from their intuition, create a seeds of doubt that creates a web of mental entanglement. And then from there, being very intuitive, it's important to really be anchored in our light so we can understand what information we need and what we need to deflect and release. Very much so. We have another question for you, Michael, if that's okay.
Yeah, very good.
Yes. Don is asking, what is the ascension you spoke of? Is that what is often also referred to as the rapture?
So a lot of people can relate it to that. Yes, I've heard. I believe in the rapture, whether it's going to happen, where you're like, all in one moment, you're like, just rise in consciousness. Maybe it might be that way for some people. And I think some people throughout time, I think people have experienced the rapture. We've heard of people that have had these experiences. We often call them saints and so forth. So they have reached that level where they just rise in consciousness and kind of like, vibrate out of this existence. I think that's what a lot of us are going to do. We're in, our consciousness is rising, our vibration is rising to a different level. The earth itself is, rising in vibrational consciousness. So we basically go to it. Some of us might not even know that we're there. It just might be all of a sudden we're like, and I've heard this is the way it is for some people. And as I look into the future, I think that's what it's going to be. We're just going to be there. We're just going to arrive at this one point where, I really feel that we're experiencing that already. Where, we just coexist on a level we've never experienced before. And that's why I keep telling people, you want to go back to the way things were. That's impossible because we've risen in consciousness to a point where that's impossible. You can't go back to that unless it's something you don't want to experience. And then, we can always check out. I've seen so many people, they just give up on living and they leave very shortly. I saw that happen to like my grandparents and my parents. One of the spouses passed on, and within a year, the other spouse passed on as well. So you have a choice, just like I had a choice I was just talking about, where I was, I feel like, I could help humanity. And they're like, oh, really? So sit me back into the game. So, and there was a time after I left the CIA, and I felt really, it wasn't under good experiences, where I was like, that really sucked. Those guys are like, really negative. I have to leave this. I started to see all the evil stuff on the other side. And so I was like, this is really weighing on my soul. So I just kind of like, it's been good, guys, but I'm out. So once I left, I was like, I'm going to the wilderness and I'm never going back again. I'm done. It's kind of like, some other philosophers throughout time, a Chinese philosopher I read about one time had done that. And they stopped him out. Oh, you need to go back because you're really going to help humanity. Well, I got out there and the angelic realm was like, remember that agreement we had where you're going to come, we're going to put you back if you like help humanity. Well, you need to go back and start teaching like my courses that I do now and sharing these experiences like we're doing right now. I'm like, do I really? It's like, because I'm like an introvert and, I've always been secret my whole life. That's not like me. And well, we had this agreement, and I was like, okay, well, show me what I need to know, and then I'll do it. And so they started showing me. I had these amazing things started coming through. You'll teach this, and this is what you'll do. And I was like, wow, yeah, I can do that. Thanks. All right, yeah. So then I got excited, and then I came out of the wilderness and I started this work. So that's the way it works. It's
great.
So the ascension is definitely for some, it will be like an enrapture event where it will happen probably instantaneously, and then some. I think most of us are just little bits at a time. Like we're talking about, we're getting these ascension energies come in. They're like, whoa, that's intense. Imagine doing that all at once. I'm like, wow, that would be a rapture. It's like your body turns into flame and you go flaming up into the next level. It's like, whoa, I like to do it nice and slow like this. It's better because you get to experience all this stuff, and I'm having great experiences, sharing this information, watching other people, awaken. It's a beautiful process. So there'll be all kinds of different experiences. I mean, like I said, it took me decades to figure out how to do remote viewing on the level that I do. And I teach people within a half an hour to do it. I'm like, how did you do that? It's like, well, my teaching skills have reached another level, or, maybe the Archangel realm, gave me some really good information. But yeah, that's the way it's going to be going forward. So like the stuff we're talking about right now, all of us have gone through a process of learning this and becoming comfortable with it. And it takes even another level again to be able to talk about it. I mean, yeah, you'll get it, but can you talk it? That's a whole different level again. You almost have to be, like 10 times the level that you are when you just get it, and that's the way I felt with everything that I taught. I want to know it on a level that's 10 times what I can do it at, and that way, when you start to inform people, they get it on a fast. They're like, wow, that's so easy. Yeah, it's easy. It wasn't easy for me, but I'm glad it's easy for you. That's good. So, and that's what we're seeing, and it's I think it's a fabulous thing because we can just jumpstart humanity to different levels a lot faster, and because I know we all probably had some amazing teachers. We're like wowed by them, and now we're those teachers. So it's fun. It's a great time.
Did you see any future contact coming from anybody from Venus in the near future? I mean, like in the next year or two?
Oh yeah. Well, I think they've been here for a big time, but long time. But I think that we're going to get major starships that'll just come in that we'll be able to visit. So we're starting to see those. James Gilliland at his ranch, because of their consciousness, like we're talking about, they can attract these things, and they see amazing objects in the sky all the time. Because everybody's like, well, when we're going to see this stuff? Well, go to James Gilliland's ranch. And
you don't believe it, go there.
Absolutely. And just recently, I think I just watched a show today. I don't know if it happened yesterday or what, but they showed a massive starship during the day, and what they got, it was from Arcturian. So it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
He said that it was between Arcturus and Vega.
Oh, that's so the starship.
It's not necessarily it's Arcturian ship.
Okay, right. I get you.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying. Good.
Yeah. I understand that 2022 is going to be the year for physical, visual contact on a number of different star nations. And by 2023, they'll be walking among us casually.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I've seen that, when
I remote viewed that.
Nice. Very good, Jeff. Good. I totally agree with that. That's what I see as well. Very nice. So it's good to get that confirmation. So everybody's like seeing the two of us are getting it, accomplished remote viewers, and we're seeing the same thing. And it's nice for me because I always love to, hear from other remote viewers. When I run these courses, sometimes I do, webinar or something. I have people come in and we'll do, remote view, and I won't tell everybody what I got before I run it, and we'll get feedback from everybody, and everybody's seeing pretty much the same thing. So with two of us seeing stuff like that, it's cool.
Yeah, we have to go with the lunar cycles, and that's why I measure the time against, because there is no 2023 or 2022 out there. It's just
Right.
where the position of the moon is in relation to where the Earth is.
Very nice. Yeah.
Speaking of remote viewing, we do have a beautiful question for you, Michael, from Giselle. She's in Quebec, Canada.
Oh, white sage.
Okay, thank you. So Giselle is asking you, Michael, can remote viewing be used as a healing tool? Can it be used for the world situation we're in right now?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I teach all that stuff. I teach remote viewing, remote influencing, and remote healing, because I think they all kind of like, once you learn one, which I start with usually remote viewing, but it can happen, either way. You're going to eventually understand that you have the ability to do any of those things. So it kind of worked that way for me. So I did the remote viewing, and then as I talked about, I had that one remote influencing experience, and then it grew to amazing levels. And then remote healing, where I could and can, help heal people. So that's one of the things that you get, as you start to understand these energies. I've had lots of guests on that have talked about, how they do these things. They actually go, and I do the same thing. I go and look at the person's body, and I get an impression of what it is, that's bothering them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll go in and do healing on that. So I had one woman I worked on that had been speared in the back during the fall of Constantinople, and I was like, "Well, I see what happened," because she was like paralyzed to the point where she almost died, and she basically worked her way back, and I started, working with her, and then she had healing from it. But I said, and maybe it's because I told her this, but she didn't believe it. I said, "You were speared in the back, and it's went through here." It's like, "That's right. That's where it is." And it's like, "Yeah." So it went in there. There's an energetic imprint in there. I removed it, and you shouldn't have any problems. She didn't. She's like, "Well, Michael, I don't believe in past lifetimes." I'm like, "That's okay, but you'll still have healing." So I had other people that had cancer, and I healed them. Their spouse got cancer. Their spouse didn't believe that I had this ability. They didn't like what I was doing. They thought it was evil, whatever. And because he asked me, he said, "Can you heal my wife? She's got cancer too." I was like, "Well, did she ask for it?" And he's like, "No, she doesn't believe in herself." Well, she has to ask for it, because it could be, she needs to have that experience. And
she'll put a blocker on it, don't even know about it.
Right. Exactly. And I can clear demons from people, and they come back because they like the demons, so there's that too. So unfortunately she died. But there's lots of abilities that we all have. Remote healing is one of those. So there's different ways you can use it. Because we're all individual, you'll develop the way that works best for you.
You're right.
Yeah. And I'm blown away by some of the ways people use the remote viewing and remote influencing and so forth. It's just like, wow, I never thought to do that. That's pretty cool. So you're going to be inspired and, intuitively guided, how you can use them. And that's what you want to be open to. So if you feel drawn to do remote healing, then start to try it. I remember just recently, I think I had within the last day or two, I get feedback from people all the time. And this woman said she'd done my remote healing course, and she said, I saw this dog that was limping with its owner, and I started to, intensely send love, like you say, to the dog, and it came back, and it was like it was spry, like ran into the water and at the beach, and I like to think that I helped it, probably did, but that's a doubting that we have to go through. So she'll probably do that multiple times. She'll get comfortable with it. It'll confirm itself with her. And this is the way we're all like this. Some people are like, they get it like that, and they're like, "Oh, I'm a remote viewer." I'm like, "Really? Already? That's crazy." And then some people are like, "Oh, I do this with it." I'm like, "Wow, I can't do that." So, and I probably never will, but that's the way we all are. We'll develop these skills very quickly or very slowly, and we'll develop them if we stick with it. Because some people just get discouraged right away. It's like, And that's usually because, they're very big doubters and stuff in their lives. I find that the people that are super analytical, like lawyer types and people that work in computer programming and stuff like that, it's a little bit harder for them because they're very analytical and they're use their minds in a certain way, so they try and think their way through this, and it comes from a different realm, as you know, Jeff. So you're tapping into a different realm, and your analytical mind interprets it. So there's a little bit of a learning process. And this is really the only thing that I need to teach people if they don't have doubt and they do meditation and get their mind state in the right place. Is all I'm teaching them how to do is get out of the way of that information coming through. Don't doubt it and look at it and just interpret the best they can. Like I saw, Trump winning, I believe he did, but that's remains to be seen if that's ever proven. So,
well, you should also point out too that there is a difference between remote viewing and astral planing.
Right.
And astral projection, I should say. There's totally different, because remote viewing, you're anchored here.
Yep.
Whereas astral projection, you actually are there.
Right. So, and that's a good point. So I can go up and down the timeline because there's no time with these abilities.
Right.
So if I want to go into a past event and look at it and get impressions from it. So sometimes you just go in and get impressions. Sometimes you look at a few details and bring a few details out. And sometimes you go into the future and see what's coming in the future. I do that quite a bit. But the way the timelines work, sometimes they don't work out exactly that way, but they're pretty close.
Oh, yeah. You can even extract and connect with a future part of selves or a parallel part of selves and work.
I just want the next 6 digits. Give me the gold ball or something. I don't care.
I know, right? I've seen people that I used to be a security manager in a casino, and I got alerted one time. It's like, go to, we had, positions within the casino, go to this position and find this guy. And, I got a readout of what the guy looked like. And it's like, he cannot be in our casino. And I was like, well, why? It's because he knows things. I'm like, okay. So I guess, he had intuitive ability that was on a different level. So he knew when the machines were going to pay out. So he even went to the point where he would pay someone to go play the machine because he knew that that machine was going, and he knew that we knew that he knew. And so if he showed up, we were like kicking him out, so he couldn't win. So he would like pay other people to come in and hit a machine because he'd walk around. So we wouldn't even let him in the casino. So there is that ability. Some people have it. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it's a frequency counter.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. Yep.
So, Michael, we have a question for you from Simon in Glastonbury, England. He's asking, could you explain the basics of remote viewing? Were you aware of the programs both in America and Russia in the 60s?
Yeah. Now, my training was never through the military. It was pretty much self-taught to a certain extent. I learned, like I said, from the Apache, spiritual, practice. And then I took it to another level. So on a very basic level, the way I used it was, it's almost like working a muscle. So I would do a meditation where I went into this, alpha to, theta brainwave states, and stay cognizant, because in the beginning stages I'd go into it, I'm like, oh, I'm out, I didn't remember anything. But you learn how to like go into that realm and stay focused. So that's a little bit of a challenge, at least it was for me. And then I would send my imagination down this trail that I'd never walked before. And then I would go after the meditation. I would get points would walk that trail and see if those things were there. And invariably, all the things that I would see, like I remember one time I saw a stream. I was in the Pine Barrens in New Jersey at the time, and it was during the summer, and everything was pretty much drying up. The one main stream was even just a trickle. So I saw a stream, in my remote view on this trail that I've never been down, and it wasn't really a trail. It was like a deer run. So I was like, wow, that's pretty weird. I don't think so. So you have these doubts. Even still to this day, I have doubts on this stuff. I'm like, I don't know about that. But you learn to like, okay, let's see. So I walked the trail, and sure enough, just like I'd seen, I walked up a little bit of a hill, which was also unusual because the Pine Barrens of New Jersey are flat, totally flat. So I walked up a little bit of a hill, and there was a spring that sprung out of the ground, went across this trail, and then went back underground. I was like, wow. And, would never have found that spot in a million years, searching for it. But there it was. So once you start to get these confirmations on that basic level, then I started to play with it. So I would play with it when I rode my bike. I would imagine because I knew this bike path that I used to take to work in San Diego and Vero Beach. It was like this, what we call the Strand, about a 10-mile bike ride. So I'd ride it back and forth to work every day. And while I'm riding, I would imagine, send my imagination out, where am I going to see the next biker? And I had 100%. I was like, okay, I'm going to see him here. And then I would get that point, boom, there it is. One time I was like, well, I don't see anybody coming. And then somebody passed me. I was like, so you have to learn how to be just open to this stuff. Another time I was coming to this one point where I was going to see a biker in my mind's eye. And I came to that point and there's nobody behind me. There's nobody in front of me. And then I looked down. I didn't even know there was an underground road, but a biker was going underground right where I saw a biker in my mind's eye. So you have to be open to these things. So once you start to play with these things and you exercise that muscle, then you take it to the next level, like I was talking about, where I would, look up a road. I used to like when I drove my car, I like to go a little bit fast. And so I would like, okay, where's the next speed trap? And invariably I would see the next speed trap. So you can play. That's the way you make it a game. You play with this stuff. And then as you get confirmation, you start to learn, which is your ego trying to play a game with you, trying to say, oh, I can see this stuff. It's like, no, you can't. And you recognize that type of energy from the beautiful intuitive realm where you're sending your imagination out and you're getting like a hit. So when I get a real strong hit, I'm like, I got this. This is the way this is going to turn out. And almost 100% of the time, it does exactly as I see it. Now, some are a little fuzzy, and they'll come in as like, it came in, kind of like I saw it, kind of like, the ones where the bike was going underground. That was a little fuzzy. So I was like, why is that fuzzy? And because it was going to be in a way that I hadn't seen it. And I could go on and on with all these different instances, but the way I teach people is like, you can play with it. I can put an object out on the table and I say, okay, it's going to be one of these two things or three things or whatever. Which one is it? And, you can play that game. Now I had had a woman come in that's pretty advanced and I was trying to play the simple games with her and she wasn't getting it. I'm like, she's advanced. Why isn't she getting the simple stuff? And it's because her consciousness was like, this boring. I'm not going to do that. And
I relate to that.
I know. Or a lot of us are like that. And once you understand, I was like, she needs some something tough. And so I took her out and I gave her something tough. Oh my God, she crushed it. And I was like, there we go. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because when she showed up, I'd never met her before. I, kind of met her online a couple of times. Real nice person. She's, among a friend group. And so she showed up. She was staying with some friends, and I was. She comes in. I'm like, she's pregnant. I don't know why I know that. And she was older. She was like in her 30s. And so I found out later she didn't expect to have children because she had kind of a past life or life with her mom that wasn't really great. So she really didn't want to have children. I'm like, I'm seeing that. She's pregnant, but I'm not going to say anything. It's not my position to say this. I don't blurt that stuff out, and I don't look, sometimes it just comes to me. I'm like, wow, why do I know that stuff? Well, I don't need that. And so we're working together, and I do this meditation that's pretty high speed where I bury somebody in the sand. It's called the burial meditation. And so you're very, very focused while you're in the sand. So she did her remote view of this one area while she was in the burial ceremony. And So she had all these. She gets out and she's like, she's telling me, what she saw, and I'm like, and I'm thinking in my mind, because I want her to, see it and experience it. And I'm thinking, wow, she like crushed it again. And then she saw some other stuff which I didn't know, which was stuff that I had never seen before. So she had some detail that I had never seen before. And then she had this one thing. She's like, and then I went into the bathroom and I was doing a pregnancy test and it came out positive. I'm like, oh, well, I saw that you're pregnant. And she's like, what? So, of course, she went right out and got a pregnancy test after we did our little set. After she went and saw how she crushed the remote view, and she was pregnant. And she just had her son just recently. So it's pretty fun once you get into these realms. You start to see, lots of different things are going to come to you. So as a remote viewer, stuff comes to you. It's like, what is that, And then you're like, oh, I need to look at that. And then you look at stuff, like I see current events that are going on in the world. And I see, they're not telling the truth on that, or they're not telling the whole story on that, or there's more to that than what they're telling. So you start to know what's going on in the world. So that's the basics of it. So you start real basic. Maybe you're just looking at some stuff in the next room. Somebody put something out for you. If you're not hitting that, don't get all messed up, because maybe you're a little bit more advanced and need some harder objects. So.
That's fantastic. And Michael, just so everybody knows, on the screen right now, we can see your website. So we invite everybody to make sure to check out your website. It's on the screen right now. So I want to mention that to you. And then staying in the remote viewing, but more intuitive part, we have a question from Jeanette in Sweden for you.
All right.
She's asking.
Let me hook up my computer. I'm about to lose all my battery power, so I don't want to miss
okay.
So give me just a sec.
Of course. And we remain in communication. I want to take a moment to thank everybody who are joining us today. It's phenomenal, the responses we're getting. We're always very grateful for you. This show is dedicated both to all of us on the planet as much as our Star Nation. So every time you tune in, make sure you like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, also the Infinite Star Connection podcast Facebook page, so you can also receive notification of what's coming up. And then we're giving Michael a moment to recharge his batteries.
All right, I'm good to go again. Thanks.
Oh, you're so welcome. Alrighty, so Jeanette is asking, what is the best way to get in touch? Let me rephrase that. What is the best way to get in contact with our star family?
What I did initially was to start to look at all the different star families and get a feeling, because there's like generic, information about what they're like, what they're, as far as like their philosophy, what they look like, what they're attracted to, all these different things. And I started looking at that because I knew that I was, from the stars. And if you're feeling that, you should look at all the different, like Arcturians and Andromedans and Syrians and so forth. And you might start to see within that yourself. And you might have a little bit of a idea which one you are to begin with. Like if you've heard other people talk about Pleiadians, a lot of people that I work with are Pleiadian. But I work with, everywhere. I'm Syrian, and I have people that are, Arcturian and Andromedan and so forth that I work with. But normally it starts out with just going on the internet, doing a little search like that, star family, likenesses or whatever you want to put in there. And that'll start to inform you. So you just kind of be with that, intuitively be with that, just kind of sit with those, and you'll go through it, and you'll have a feeling, for which one of those you are. And then from there, you move on. Or you can contact, maybe Vivian can help you, or some other person that's really, into that level of consciousness. There's lots of psychics out there that help people find, what star family they're from. And it's the same thing as far as like using your intuition. You want to be guided to someone that you feel is going to help you. And from that, you can get a lot of information. So once I found that, I was from the Sirius star family, a lot of stuff opened up for me because I have a parallel life that's going on in Sirius B. And so I connect with that lifetime, spirit advanced soul. And, when I need information or I feel like that being is like trying to contact me, I just tune into it and I get a download of information. So that's how I did it. I mean, there's probably, lots of different ways. So if you want to add anything to that, Vivian.
Yes, thank you so much, Michael. Definitely when you start to feel an affinity, you can feel drawn to some energy. I feel drawn to certain description, like say Syrian energy, or just what I would do also, in addition to what you mentioned, Michael, is I would really feel it in your heart. What does your heart has to say? Connect to the gateway of your heart and invite the consciousness or the essence of a star nation. For example, invite in the Syrian, just feel them, invite them the lion, the Andromedan. Or also, in addition to that, you can ask your higher self to say, I am ready now to your mighty I am presence. I am ready now to welcome my star lineage in my life. Please reveal itself to me. And so it also allows to open up your internal channels, increases your intuition, helps you to trust yourself, to go more inward as opposed to external sources. And there's also opening up what we call your energetic line of communication. So that would be a layer of what I would add to what you share, Michael.
Very
Would that
nice.
resonate? Thank you. Thank you. We have less than 5 minutes before we wrap up our time just for today. Michael, if you agree, we would love to have you back later on, maybe in the fall or something, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So I would love for you to mention a bit of your intuition courses. I will show the link also on the screen for those who are interested in, getting more information about your courses and what you offer.
Yeah, the Unleashing Intuition Secrets, Become the Master of Your Reality is like my foundational course. It's got over 20 hours of information in there, and I designed it in a way that pretty much anyone is, if you're a newbie to intuition, you're trying to figure out what intuition is, it'll form you. Also, if you're an advanced, because I feel that there's information in there that's going to help everybody. So if you're already advanced in intuition, it'll help you as well. Kind of like what we've been talking about. If you have a feeling about something and then it's, confirmed by someone else, I think that's very valuable. So I have within there a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about, the remote viewing, influencing. I mentioned a lot of the past life stuff. All that's within there on a somewhat of a basic level, but it's very informative. And so I like people to do that first, but it's not necessary. You can go into any one of my courses, but if you get that as a foundational course, then it basically leads you into any of the other stuff, and you'll understand on a deeper level because of the meditations. So the meditation, getting your brainwave state into the right format to do all this stuff, that's the biggest thing you learn. So once you learn how to put your mind into these states of consciousness through any one of my courses, then all the other ones kind of like, are very easy to take on, like the past lives or influencing or viewing or, healing or any of that. Developing your physique, like I have developing the physique course and, fast lean course, all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's a lot of fun. If you do a course bundle, some of the course bundles, basically for any of them, I'm going to do a one-on-one session with you. If you do the upper scale of it, I'll do 3 sessions with you. So there's lots of options in there. Of course, at a very basic level is my Unleash the Intuitive Warrior. So the book, the Intuitive Warrior, is basically where I started all of this about a little over 10 years ago. Wrote that in a combat zone. And I thought I was going to appeal to mostly men, but 70% of my clients are women. Women are developing their intuition at an unbelievable level.
Much quicker.
I agree. Much quicker, because it's very natural for women. And when I started seeing women were like reading my book in big numbers, I was like, what? And then I was like, duh, women are naturally intuitive. Of course they would like this stuff. So it's basically, I think the reason why women are getting into it because they're balancing that masculine side that we all have. You know, for men, it's a struggle to balance our feminine side. For women, to balance the masculine side. So I teach that nice balance for men and women, but women are getting it on an incredible level because women, like the landscape that we're in right now, are really coming into their power, and that's what's really causing the ascension. The women coming into the power. A lot of us men have been, come on, men, wake up. It's a slow roll. But with women waking up in incredible numbers and coming into their power and stepping into leadership roles and so forth, like we're seeing in increasing levels, it's really starting to kickstart men as well. So I think it's a beautiful time because women have been suppressed for a long time, and now the suppression is coming off.
Oh, beautifully said. We were in a time warp, like we transcended the linear time construct of the third dimensional reality. We were in a complete parallel universe of love, sharing, respect, and so much. It's been incredible. So everybody is loving it. Everybody is thanking you so much for, being here. So let's take a few minutes and let's do the clearing right now, like we always do, to bring our community together even closer, because we always says that together we are far more powerful than we can ever be apart. So let's do that. Huh? Perfect. Yes.
Yes.
So everybody, Michael, Jeff, Tracy, Joe, we invite you to just get yourself very comfortably, making sure your spine is supported, feet on the ground as much as possible. And we invite you to put one hand on top of your heart. And with each breath that you take, just see and feel that you are breathing through the gateway of your heart, gently grounding yourself into the now, into this beautiful quantum space of love and high frequencies, bringing the energy to the Syrian portal in honor of the Lion's Gateway, honoring also our brothers and sisters of Lyra, and to feel that we are coming together as a unified community and star family. We are a family of light on this earth, the gathering of powerful and magnificent souls throughout the multiverse who have come and incarnated in these times of the Great Reascension timeline. We are honored to be in your presence. We are also honored to walk this journey with you. So as you keep breathing deeply into the gateway of your heart, ask your magnificent higher self to help you integrate with more ease the frequencies that we are receiving at these times, while releasing anything that no longer serves or supports your own empowerment, healing, and transformation. Remember that you are first and foremost divine essence of light in the perfections of the one singularity mind of Prime Creator. And you are finally returning to claim your sovereignty and your divinity within you. And as you keep breathing deeply and slowly to the gateway of your heart, to see and feel the energy flowing as well through your spinal column, gently balancing all of your chakra system, upgrading also your body template, and expanding your golden web of light. We are many speaking as one unified voice. And we send much love, gratitude, and much respect to you. Trust in a big divine design, uplifting your planet into a higher sphere and higher octaves of light. Stay grounded into who you are and into your light. And remember, the more you are centered upon your light, any lower frequencies, such as fear or doubt, they have no place, no space to coexist within the magnificence and the power of your light. So let's take a deep breath through your heart, breathe in and release. Beautiful. You are now welcome to open your eyes and welcome to your sacred space. Welcome back. Already. Beautiful. I hope that you felt that coming true today.
That was beautiful. Yeah, thanks.
You're most welcome. Michael, once again, on behalf of both Jeff and I, we're very grateful that you spend this time together. It's been absolutely incredible. I can feel the energy so high. I can feel like my spine burning with energy as if I had a sunlight right behind me. It's been a beautiful balance of sharing so much love. Can't wait to see you and Tracy Jo in person in Mount Shasta for the conference that we're both speakers at, August 26th to 29th. I'll make sure I'll come and get a big hug from both of you. And and of course, Peter will be with me as well. So it will be a beautiful reunion.
Right.
And so, absolutely. So thank you so much. We want to thank everyone who's been joining us from all over the world. We will see you next time. Our next guest is Ray Hernandez. Wonderful time. We're going to speak about consciousness, dimensional energies, and beyond. On behalf of all of us here at Infinite Star Connections, we are grateful for you, and we'll see you next time. Much love.